Welcome to the Through It Podcast, conversations about surviving, healing, and growing. With your hosts, Holly Rogers and Paul Spurl. Anytime you have questions or comments about one of the episodes, email us anytime. Podcastthroughit@gmail.com. And now, Holly Rogers and Paul Spurl.
So it was about that time. We are back again. Good day to you guys. That's Holly. I'm Paul. The Through It Podcast. Thanks very much for keeping it right here with us. Podcastthroughit@gmail.com, of course, is the email to get a hold of us about whatever you might want to chat about. Katie Joe is here with us today. Just depends on if you're at a tractor pull or not. We'll call you whatever. Katie Joe's with a hello.
Hi.
Pleasure to see you as always. How do you guys know each other?
Work and friends, yeah. And I've been taking my cat to the clinic she works at for 18 years, so we've gotten to know each other over the years, and then more so recently with my new job.
Okay. Oh yeah. Okay. Cool. All right.
Yeah, we and then we found out that we have a mutual friend that we know.
Yes.
So yeah.
In the horse world.
In the horse world.
Yep.
So I know nothing about horses. Do you ride? Do we ride horses?
I do. I grew up showing. I don't ride as much as I used to because now it's kind of focused on my daughter and like her passion for it.
Oh, so she's into it then?
Yeah, she is. She's very much into it. She has basically been riding since she was in my belly.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I showed pretty much from the time I got my first horse at 9 and then I just never got rid of them.
No, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, it's a very expensive hobby to have, but it helps me out of a lot of trouble growing up. So I hope that does the same for my daughter.
All right, so you have a daughter?
Yes.
One kid?
I have two.
Two kids?
I have a daughter and a son.
Okay.
So an 11-year-old and a 12-year-old and a 7-year-old.
Okay. Oh man, that's
five
that's
years
a fun
apart.
time. That's a fun time.
They were both born in January, but their birthdays are 3 days apart.
Oh, that's crazy. All right, cool. And you are currently married or not married?
Not married.
You are divorced though?
Yeah, I am divorced. It was official as of December, just like this last
6 months ago.
December.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
And all right, I always like to start off with history. All right, how long were you married?
Oh gosh. Well, I believe it technically was 12 years before the divorce was official. The divorce took a good year just because he wasn't agreeing upon multiple things. I
wasn't agreeing because he wanted things to be fair, or wasn't agreeing just to give you a hard time?
I honestly don't know. I think that when we first, decided that it just wasn't working any longer. I didn't really have any, like, where do you go? You're a single person. Mm-hmm. He was always the breadwinner of the family. I worked just to be able, to afford doing the horse thing for our daughter, to be able to afford to do the horse thing. So like I didn't pay a lot of the bills. Mm-hmm. So I think that's why he didn't think that I was deserving of much of anything.
Okay.
So
giving you a little hard time.
He was really giving a hard time, really, dragging things along. He said that I didn't need to be in a hurry to move out, which at the time, my brother was going through kind of a separation and was living with my parents with his 4 kids.
So you guys are splitting up, and he says, you don't need to leave our house.
Yes.
Oh,
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. You don't need to leave, which kind of, we got along enough for the kids.
Sure.
We didn't leave each other like necessarily like through hate, bad terms, things like that. Once my brother kind of got his situation figured out, we pretty much in April when my aunt had passed away, like it was kind of like this is not like this just isn't working. Mm-hmm. Like I felt like he wasn't super supportive. Like
okay, so let me make sure I got. So you did get officially divorced in December.
We did,
but you did stay living in the house.
We stayed living in the house. April, we kind of knew that it was over. July, it was like, yep, this is over. Like, like we need to decide, like, what do we want to do? Do we want to do like a dissolution? Do we want to do like mediation? Or are we not going to be able to agree on things? And then this is going to be a divorce. And he pretty much was like, no, we can agree on things. So even though the things that we had talked about, he was in agreement depends on, like, he wanted to basically do it the cheapest route possible. He didn't want to have to pay, thousands of dollars for a divorce. Like, let's just agree on things. Like, let's use the same lawyer, blah, blah, blah. Well, then when it came down to it, and I had the lawyer hired finally in like January, because it took that long for him to be like to agree, like, what are we going to do. I feel like he stalled, like he couldn't make a decision for a long time. Like, I was ready to move on at that point. Like, my brother had moved out in November of my parents' place, and then my mom was like, well, you can move in. I was like, let's just give you guys some space for a few months. I was like, how about we wait till the first of the year and I'll move in. Well, then we ended up moving in before Christmas, because I was just like, I just didn't want to be there.
Okay, so I guess that was before we get into the whole the dating and moving on thing. It is important to kind of lay the foundation. I want to see what's happening. So so when you guys divorced and stayed in the house, separate bedrooms?
We actually had lived in separate bedrooms probably even 2.5 years up to the divorce. It was kind of one of those things where he worked a completely different shift than me. Like, he was a truck driver, so like, even though he was home every night, he kind of wasn't home every night, because like his schedule was just like really like, when I was at work, he was home, and then when he left for work, like, it was just me and the kids.
Okay, cool. All right.
And then the snoring, I couldn't.
I was just going to ask. I thought maybe it was due to snoring.
The snoring was the biggest thing, and I had pleaded and I had like begged, like, just go and figure this out so we can like sleep in the same bed together. And I can
CPAP machines are great. Sorry to tell you guys,
they're great. But then he went. But then as soon as like, oh, you have a CDL, you're a truck driver, like, this could jeopardize you having that and being able to work because of potential lack of sleep and potentially falling asleep at the wheel, like just things like that. From what I understood, that was his description to me.
I mean, I get up early for work, and I still want to take a big nap because I'm a big fat guy. But before my CPAP, when I was sleeping, I would wake up all the time and be done. I just couldn't. So
well, and probably your partner probably did not sleep well either.
No.
My ex was a horrible snorer, and it was the biggest blessing when he got his machine, because we both slept.
Yep.
It's horrible.
Okay. Yeah. So sorry, going on about CPAP. Call your local doctor.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I mean, obviously the snoring wasn't what led to the divorce. It was a lot of things that snowballed over time. But
so you are living with the parents?
Yes, I am.
So currently, with you, both parents are still around.
Yep.
And you're 2 kids.
Yes.
And how is that going?
It's fine. I've always had a very good relationship with my parents.
Okay.
My parents have always been very supportive of, probably having too many horses and animals in the barn, and, bringing home like stray dogs. We probably didn't need at the moment.
They're active, or they're home all the time? Or?
So actually my dad just recently retired.
Okay.
He worked at Camco. Well, he was a Campbell Soup guy, so I grew up as a Campbell Soup kid.
Sure.
And then kind of when things had changed hands, ownership, things didn't quite go the way Dad liked it anymore. A lot of forced overtime, a lot of not being home with your family. He was very unhappy, which kind of really put a damper on my parents' relationship. So then my mom's like, look, you got to figure this out, kind of thing. My parents have had a very, like, it's been up and down, so... but they're good.
Okay,
I think every relationship's that way.
Yeah.
Especially when you leave for a while and then you come back.
So,
I stayed one night because of bad weather. I stayed one night at my parents' house a year or so ago. And it
What'd
was,
you do?
we hung out, watched TV. I went to bed early because I get up early. And it was just kind of weird being with them again, and all that. But anyway, all right.
Yeah.
So anyway,
but
So everybody knows that divorce is not, you wake up in the morning, or shouldn't be like this. You don't wake up in the morning and go, screw it, I'm done.
Yeah.
It's obviously a buildup. There's problems. You start, the feelings change and all that stuff. So mentally, you probably were divorced a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Okay, we get it. Yeah. So you are now 6 months out from the divorce, 7 months out from?
Yes. 6
all right.
months. Yeah. Going on.
Where are you with getting back out there? How do you feel about that?
So honestly, admittedly, I didn't take very long getting back out there. I think a lot of it was because in my head.
So you jumped back on the horse, so to speak.
I did.
Thank you very much.
I did. Of course, I waited until like I was moved out of the house. At that point, it was like a good 8 months that, you know, it was over. We deemed it was over, but just the divorce process of it just took forever.
Did you do it because you were lonely? Did you do it because you were horny? Did you do it? Or were you looking for companionship? Did you just happen to meet somebody? Oh, cool. Or what made you? Because maybe some people like, oh, wow, that's quick, but
yeah.
And let's be honest, you were probably, like I said, divorced long ago. But what made you decide? Let's go. Let's do it.
You know, honestly, I don't know. It kind of just happened, like out of nowhere. I like as soon as it was out there that like I was, you know, separated. You know, even before being married, I felt like it wasn't hard for me to find somebody.
The phone started ringing, huh?
Yeah, the phone did. Yeah, like my Facebook Messenger started blowing up.
Vultures are good. What the hell?
Yeah. So, I mean, and honestly, like I entertained one of them. It was somebody that I knew previously, like through horses, and like he had been married, had 2 kids about the same, you know, age as me. But we were very quiet about it. Like it wasn't known. And I feel like that's where, I mean, some people I think they jump into it, but they jump into it like full speed ahead.
Sure. So you're just hanging out there. You're just dating. You're just not.
Not like the kids don't know about it. Okay. Like, you know, kind of things like, you know, very quiet. Like, you know, a lot of it with this person was just a lot of messaging for like 4 months. Like we'd see each other like occasionally because we'd be at a horse event together or whatever. But even while we were there, like we weren't standing with each other. We weren't like, there was just
You're stealing glances from across the barn.
No. Maybe once in a while, but not
giggle
but
inside,
it wasn't, you know. Yeah.
Is this person still around?
He is, but like 4 months of messaging, and there was like no like let's go to dinner. There was no like
so there was no official dating with
there
this
was
person.
there was no official dating.
Okay.
Like I think like I kind of felt like maybe it was like I was just like kind of strung along, but it didn't take me long to figure that out and just to kind of go away with that.
Now you're doing this, and it's probably fun too to get some different attention and something like that.
Yeah.
Are you over your ex yet? Are you still angry about that? Are you okay? So you're over.
Hesitation.
I'm not like I'm not like angry about anything, like at all. I was a little angry like during like the divorce part, like when we sat down because I had first it was a disillusion and we were gonna agree on things. Mm-hmm. And then he kind of was just like dragging his feet, and then he was like, my uncle advised me that I should probably get my own lawyer, and
well, you should always do that,
which you should always do that. But in his mind, at first, it was like, I don't want to spend a lot of money. Like I think we can just agree upon things and be done. But then it went from like deciding what we were doing in July, and then here we are like a year later, and he's still dragging his feet, and like I'm like giving him these options that I will agree to, which I felt was going to be super fair. Mm-hmm. Like I only wanted like what I was entitled to the house, and I wanted child support. Like I didn't want to touch this 401k. Like I didn't want alimony, like as much as I probably should financially have asked for alimony. Like I wanted him to still be able to afford and keep the house that our children were raised in. And
is he an active parent?
He is. He is an active parent, but a lot of the part of our issues maritally as well was he wasn't super supportive of the whole horse thing. In his mind, it was my thing, and he didn't think that he should, financially support that. But it wasn't even me showing horses anymore at that point. Like, it was our daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it kind of was like, it was my thing. But then it was like mom's taking, like, the backseat and letting the daughter do it.
Did he feel like you were pushing that on her?
No, I don't think so. He never openly said that, had said that. But there was always an excuse to not go to a horse show. Oh, it's too hot. I don't like being out in the heat. Or,
yes, it is. But that's
it is,
do,
but it's your daughter's thing, And here we are, like my daughter is going to all these horse shows, and you have like both sets of parents are like, always there. Or we would go away for like a long horse show, and like he would never come with us. But he also was one that grew up that he didn't have a lot of hobbies growing up. So I don't think that he understood
Sure.
whole hobby aspect of it.
All right. So we are a few months out, almost a year out now, and is there anything? Have you? How do I say this without being trying to be smart ass? Are you seeing anyone right now?
I have been seeing somebody for a year and a half now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And on like
you see
really,
her eyes brighten up and a smile on her face.
It happened really fast, but very unexpectedly.
Is this before or during or after the little texting guy thing?
It was after after. Yeah.
Oh, so it's been a little longer.
So it's
Oh, okay. I was under the impression
the
you just got
texting
divorced.
thing kind of like happened like as soon as it was out there and people knew that like I was no longer like we were no longer together. And like that just kind of happened. Like we happened to be at a horse event together, and like he had figured it out, and then he was in my inbox. But that's all that ever happened with him was he was in my inbox. So
they don't waste. Guys don't waste time for sure.
I feel like there was a lot of talk but no action.
All right.
So after about
now
4 months of it, I was
so 4 months. That's perfect. So now after that, then is this new guy?
Yeah, and actually, I had a friend who was on the Facebook dating site. She was one that, like, I don't think we all do things perfectly when we put ourselves back out there after being, either just in a long-term dating relationship, living together, or like actually being married and, getting divorced. I don't think any of us do it, perfectly. But she was one that I feel like she was like on Facebook dating, and like there would be this guy, and then there'd be, whatever. I think we all have our needs,
Oh,
and we all have
sure.
we all have our timelines, and some of us are okay with being alone. I personally didn't like being alone.
No, and that's understandable for sure.
Some people are okay with it.
So this new guy, do we have a name, or do we have
his name is Kyle.
We can mention the name Kyle.
We can mention the name Kyle.
So Kyle and you were messaging, I'm guessing, texting here or there.
So we actually met through the friend that was on Facebook dating.
Okay.
She had been like on quite a few dates with like other guys that she, had met through there. She had reached out to me actually about Kyle because she had met him on Facebook dating, but they only messaged a couple times. She's like, hey, she goes, I know that you know a lot of people like through 4-H and, in your county and stuff. I was kind of hoping that maybe you knew him and could like give me some insight. And I was like, the name sounds really familiar, but I was like, no, I don't know him. And she goes, well, can you check into him for me? So, I like went on Facebook, and I was like, that's how I kind of know him.
So you knew, you may have known, but you didn't know.
Yes.
Okay.
And actually the only reason, so of course I sent him a friend request so I could because his profile was kind of private, so I couldn't see a lot. So I was like, I'll send him a friend request. Like we have a lot of mutual friends, I'm sure he'll accept it. And he accepted it. And then like a couple of days later, like he sends me a message and he goes, are you not with your husband anymore?
Oh, he just came straight out.
Yeah.
Huh?
And I was like, so then I thought about it and I thought about it. Yeah. And I was like, oh, this is how he knows me, because him and my husband grew up together because his mom babysat him from the time that they were like 3 years old to like middle school, when they're old enough to not necessarily, need a babysitter anymore. But past that, they went to school together, but they had a completely, separate group of friends.
Oh, okay, so they're not necessarily
they were maybe close friends as children, but not close friends from the start of high school. Good.
That would make class reunions very awkward.
Yeah, right. He had only talked, I think he had only literally in the 13 years we were together, maybe brought Kyle's name up 2 or 3 times. Yeah. So, but that, it just, and then we just kind of kept talking.
I love the direct, I love that idea for sure.
Yeah, we just kind of, and then we just kept talking, and I was in the middle of, trying to get the last few things moved into my house, which moving out was very hard. I had a dog that my husband did not allow to be in the house. He had to be the farm dog out in the barn, which I hated because I love my animals, being with me. So I had started moving my things in, and I had spent one night with my dog in the house, and he ended up needing to be put down the next day.
Really?
Yeah, there was like I brought him in the house and just things weren't right. So I called my boss. I'm like, are you on call today? You know, and she's like, yeah. And I was like, well, something's not right. He ended up developing like an abscess on his lung, and it had ruptured.
How old was the dog?
He was, I think, 9. So, and I had him since a puppy.
Okay.
So, like he was kind of like a family farm dog.
You get split up. You got a dog dying. So this is going real well now. So.
Literally the day I was packing, and he helped me pack up, and he helped me, you know, pack things into the enclosed trailer that my parents had. So not only was my ex-husband helping me move out, but I also had to put my dog down later that day. So, and then a couple weeks went by, and I had another friend that I had kind of reconnected with. Like, he had been through a divorce. Like, he also was living with his mom, but bought the farm from his mom. But his mom still lived there. So kind of thing. Like, she's, he's like, okay, you know, mommy, you're going to live here forever, you know, kind of thing. But he was helping me move things as well, and repaint the bedrooms and things like that.
So you get in, you get Kyle giving you the direct direct question about which is great, cutting to the chase. And when did it go from chatting online to texting to like, all right, let's get together?
It honestly happened super fast, because he was messaging me New Year's Eve while I was at like a friend's New Year's Eve party, and like we were kind of like he had just ended like a 2.5-year relationship 4 months prior, and then so we were kind of like a little bit chatting about that, and then obviously like talk about him knowing my ex-husband. And then I was like, yeah, I just have like a few more, like I got the kids' room settled. Now I just need to move all of my stuff into my bedroom, like, to complete that, because I was living out of boxes and sleeping on a twin size bed.
Sure.
And like, he was like, well, I can come help you tomorrow. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, I'm not going to say no. Like, somebody's offering me help,
you do the heavy lifting.
Yeah. So he helped me move some things into my bedroom.
That's perfect.
Yeah, we went
like
on
literally
a date.
or figuratively. I don't know what you mean, but he helped you move a few things, like
he helped me he helped me get my bed in and my dresser in.
He didn't help you with your pants and all that stuff. Okay, because I didn't know if that was a euphemism or something.
Nope.
So this is New Year's Day then.
Yep.
And are the kids around?
Nope. Kids are not around.
Okay.
They were actually at my friend's house, who was helping me move in. It was actually his birthday, so we were over there for like cake and ice cream, and like Michael still wanted, he was like, well, I could help you finish your stuff. I'm like, oh, you've already done so much for me, like it's your birthday, like enjoy it. So my kids stayed at his house while Kyle helped me move the rest of my things,
And so you get to see him in person. Now you're chatting, and you're like, oh, this cool guy's pretty cool. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I was like, he's like, so he goes, would you like to go? Like he, was getting ready to leave. He's like, would you like to go to dinner sometime? And like, I kind of felt like I owed him dinner, like or a case of beer or something for helping me. And then so I was like, yeah, like we could probably do that. And like, we kind of texted back and forth a little bit, like through that whole entire week leading up to going out. And like we, I'm a huge, like when it comes to time and planning things, like I'm not a very good planner. So dinner ended up being our Arby's before we went to the rodeo, because we did end up having time to like sit down and have like a nice, like dinner. And then I honestly, like I really honestly wasn't sure about him.
Okay.
I wasn't at first. I was absolutely not sure about him. Like, I just kind of happened to like meet this guy because he was supposed to be talking to a friend.
Yeah.
So then I was like, hey, by the way, I just want to let you know that I've been talking to him, and like we did go out on a date. And she's like, oh, that's okay, because I went back to my boyfriend, like my other boyfriend. So it worked out.
Are the kids asking you where you're at, what you're doing?
No,
like that?
Because we did everything very quiet.
Okay.
Which
is good. I don't think you should bring kids in at all right now.
No. So. Because I again like wasn't sure about him. Mm-hmm. I made him work very hard for like the first month.
There you go.
Yeah. We didn't really plan any dates after that. It was more like messaging. He's kind of the handy guy, mechanically and construction wise.
Good.
And like I had kind of had some things that I really needed help with, like fixing like wheelbarrow tires, tractor tires, like things that like was broken in the barn but never got fixed, because even like the husband wasn't super like supportive of like coming out and helping like fix things in the barn. He grunted about, he did do it occasionally, but he grunted about it. So it was kind of, I tried to schedule that on like the days that they were with like the dad, for a few hours, or his mom has always been supportive about taking the kids one day a week. Like even when Emily was first born, she's like that kind of grandma. She's very active. Like she wants to see the kids. So like, so we would do it like on the nights that, I knew grandma usually didn't bring them home until about 9 o'clock at night, once in a while, we just couldn't make it work to where the kids weren't there, but he was there, he was working on things, like I was in the house making dinner, like I'd run out and check on him, things like that. This is mom's friend, like he's here to come help fix some things that, needs to be fixed, and that's all that was. That's what it was.
Okay, so he'd come do that thing and then take off or whatever.
Yeah. There was never he never stayed the night, like while the kids were there. Of course, it's like so here I am, moved in with my parents, and then I decided to start dating, somebody. So
okay, so when did it? How long did it take? Because it sounds like, here's what it sounds like to me. Yeah. Right? It sounds like you're the lady of the manor, and you hired the stable boy, and now you're going to start seeing the stable. No, I'm kidding. Yeah. So when did that start to change? You're like, okay, this guy's kind of cool. Maybe maybe this is the guy we're going to start dating a little more. This is a little more serious. What made that change?
He was really consistent about like wanting to come to the horse shows, wanting to come to soccer games. Like the kids were getting involved with it's no longer winter time because this happened the beginning of the the year, and he just was like super involved, and I kind of like really liked him.
So he was Kyle over there. Oh look, Kyle's there.
Yeah.
He happens to be here.
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah, okay. For like a little bit. Maybe for like the first. He didn't end up making it to soccer games because he didn't go to things when he knew that the ex-husband was going to be there, because at that point, like it wasn't, we weren't open that like we were together.
Pretty early, yeah.
It was pretty early. And I wanted the dad to be present in the activities and not feel like, oh, well, the new boyfriend's there, like this is super awkward, and didn't want to go to things, which he wasn't always supportive of going to the horse things anyway. So it was kind of like, oh, Jeremiah, like, already told me that he's not coming to the horse show. So like, if you would like to come, you're more than welcome to. So that's kind of like how it started out. Okay. And then he just made, like, I was just ready to move on. I was ready to be, done with the divorce, all the things. And Kyle and I at that point, like, we'd been together for 6 months, 2 months into that. I kind of had opened up to the kids, like, Mom and Kyle are together now.
Oh, okay, you did say something.
Yep.
Okay.
So, I said, but don't, like, we're being quiet about it. Like, we're not like we hadn't been went to family, get-togethers, like, quite at that point. I did go to like to Easter. And he went to my Easter. That was like, I mean, granted, we were only like 4 months, like we just like, okay, we're dating. But we were still very quiet about it. Like, there was no
Easter?
There was no.
Okay.
No. And in fact, I wanted to make our last 2 holidays within the split up was like, so like we split up in July, like, but we're still living there. The kids, like, we sat down with the kids, like, mom and dad aren't together anymore, but we're still going to live here for a while until like other arrangements can be made. We were upon agreement that we were going to try to make the last 2 holidays as normal for the kids as possible because we were still living together. We had agreed that we were still going to go to each other's like Thanksgivings. We were still going to go to each other's Christmases, and then, let's finish out the year as normal as possible for our children.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Well, it didn't happen. I went to his Thanksgiving. He did not come to mine.
Oh.
And I was like, you know what? If this is not how it's going to go, then I don't want to go to your Christmas. Okay. I went to his dad's wedding knowing that we weren't no longer together. And honestly, even during the wedding, I didn't feel like it was my business to tell his parents or his family that we weren't together. Mm-hmm. I thought that was his business. We had made the decision prior to his dad's wedding in July. I still went. There was still a lot of problems. And it was hard to like obviously we weren't going to tell his parents then because that was his dad's day.
Hey, by the way.
Yeah. You're getting married and we're getting divorced. So we like even into November, there was a horse event, and his aunts and uncles and like his dad and stuff like showed up or whatever. I was still letting everybody know that there were things that the children were involved in, and they were all invited.
Sure.
And like nobody knew. Nobody really knew. I mean, I had mentioned something to his aunt about it. Like I confided, like, to her, like back into August. But he never talked about it to anybody else. Like really, like his mom knew because I went to his mom about some things. And, I was like, I just really think that you should know that this is what's going on. Because I mean, she was always there, always at activities, like taking the kids one day a week. Like I felt like, if anybody should know, obviously outside of my parents, it should be her. Mm-hmm. But yeah, and then, so like back to the, it was like June, and like my birthday's coming up, and and stuff like that, and like Kyle and I, like we had been into the it's about 6 months into knowing each other, and a few months into dating.
Sure.
Or like at least letting my children know that we were dating. A couple friends knew about it, but there was no social media about it.
Yeah,
like there was
you
no
weren't
flaunting.
Facebook official.
Yeah, no, there was no flaunting. Like none of that. We kept it very quiet.
You kept it quiet. You told the kids he's around a little more. Mm-hmm. Do you still love your ex?
No. No.
Different kind of love.
I was just so over it.
And that's okay, but I guess that's why I asked is that can you legitimately go, okay, I'm now done with this.
Right.
Doors closed.
Right.
You're the dad, we get it, okay, fine, all that. But you can now move on.
Yeah.
You're healthy enough to move on.
Yeah, when I was trying to move on, and I felt like he was like the ex was keeping me from moving on because he just couldn't make a decision on what we were going to do.
Or didn't want to, maybe?
Or, I don't think that there was, I don't know that there was he didn't want to. I just don't know that he wanted to come to terms with it. I just think that he was dragging along because he didn't like the offers that I had on the table, like to get this done and to be fair about it. I think that he felt like I didn't, deserve half the equity within the home because I wasn't paying the bills there.
You're not, but
I was raising our children. Yeah. I was doing the laundry. I was, taking them everywhere they needed to be. Like I was working, and occasionally, but he shouldn't say that I wasn't paying the bills because I still paid the internet bill. Like I still paid our car insurance for all of our vehicles. Like I paid my own cell phone bill.
But he there raising the kids. He ain't running around. You're the one doing it. And he's out working. You're not driving trucks.
Yeah. So. And working at the vet clinic, doing the horse massage stuff, like that was still like paying for like even like clothes when they needed it. Like I would, I had a friend that I went to school with that her daughter was a little older than me, and every time she posted like a 30-gallon tub of her daughter's clothes, like I was on it. I was buying them, you know. And I, paid for like the extra things. Like I would help put money towards like, family vacations. We did every 2 years we did a family vacation.
Cool.
So like I would help pay for those things. I was paying for our daughter to be very involved in horses, which was super expensive.
How about your son? What's he into?
So he's into soccer. Okay. He tried football. He did a season, decided he didn't like it. And, and then he did soccer. And then even after soccer, when fall came along and it was like football season again, like I was like, Eli, do you want to do this? And he's like, no, I just want to do soccer.
He goes like, okay,
yeah.
There
you go. And he had a pony, and he showed his pony for 2 years. So both the kids were involved in horses. But then after he won his belt buckle at the end of the year, like his second year showing, he just decided the interest in the pony wasn't, it was kind of there, but it wasn't like my daughter.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
But Kyle actually has a hobby of tractor pulling. He likes the tractor pulls, like, the great big tractors, but him and his dad were very involved with the garden tractors. So like your lawnmowers that you ride on, like they swap, they soup the engines up, and they, do it with those tractors. So it's kind of like, well, he doesn't really have as much interest in his pony. So Kyle's like, well, let's go to a tractor pull. I'll throw him on my tractor and see what happens. And that was the end of it. We sold the pony.
And he dug it? He liked it?
Yeah, he absolutely loved it. We sold the pony. We took the money. We bought his own pulling tractor. Nice. Kyle knew where one was. And the guy gave us a really good deal. In fact, I found another one on Facebook Marketplace the other day. So Friday night we went to Stryker and bought him another pulling tractor.
Oh, so you didn't go visit someone at the prison. You went to go buy a truck.
Yeah.
You say Stryker. That's
Good
right.
clarification.
So let's finish up with the kids.
But,
just real quick. Let's finish up with the kids. So you tell them, hey, we're hanging out, but we're keeping it quiet.
Yeah.
Did you get any sort of blowback, any kind of questions, any sort of confusion, any sort of good vibe, bad vibe, anything?
No, because I checked in with them. I didn't want my personal, want to have a relationship feelings over how they felt about him. So, I'm I really, really like this guy. I felt like he was a lot of what I was looking for prior to my husband, but I just wasn't finding it. So maybe I just settled, but every couple weeks I check in, how do you, even before, it was, I was open about this is Mom's boyfriend. I would check in, what do you guys think about Kyle? What do you think about Kyle? And they weren't sure at first, what kid is going to be. I mean, I wasn't even sure about
weird.
him.
I went through it with my parents, and it's different at first, and you don't really know what to think or you don't know if you're betraying the other parent. There's all kinds of feelings about it. But I think him being super involved, he came to the horse shows, he was, getting Eli involved in doing something, they were working on the tractors
and
together.
Now he digs, the kid digs, so it's now they got a thing together.
He was Eli at the age of 6 was using an impact to pull tires off of a tractor and putting them back on and just washing the tractor and and then if Kyle had a few little maintenance projects or whatever, he would keep Eli involved, let's go fix something, and Eli would work the drill and things like that. Obviously, he's not gonna put him on a Sawzall or anything, but age appropriate. So finally, so my birthday is coming up, and it was pretty much out there that Mom and Kyle are a thing. It was getting more and more obvious. We didn't do things in front of them. There was no holding hands. There was no kissing. There was no you didn't touch my butt or things like that, or put his arm around me or hold his hand, until we had come out to the kids 4 months in that we were a thing. And and it's so funny because so then we we would still hold hands as we're driving down the road in front of the kids, or just out and about doing things whether it was going to a weekend event or finding things to do, but we would still try to when I would say goodbye to him, if he'd leave the house, we tried to make sure that we were outside and not in front of the kids. We were still trying to keep it private, but at the same time our kids were peeking around the corner, I was we're saying goodbye or whatever, and giggling about it. So then it's
That's
okay,
cute.
so they must be comfortable with it. But even though I knew that they were comfortable with it, I would still check in every month, how do you guys feel? And because I didn't want to put my feelings for him in front of my children's feelings,
for sure,
just about the whole
it's very
situation.
mature, because a lot of people don't do that or can't do that.
Yeah. And I've seen people that I know get out of a marriage, and the kids were about the same age as mine, and every 4 months there was a new boyfriend, or if the boyfriend worked out for 6 months, there was an engagement, and then they were only engaged for 6 months, and then they were broken up, and then there was a new, I didn't want that for my children, at all. And Jeremiah was not dating the ex-husband, which he kind of we had talked even before the whole if one of us would pass away, I was well, I'm probably gonna, I'm honest, probably gonna find somebody, it's with if you pass away and I'm still young and have children to raise, I don't like to be alone. I could see him being the kind that, he's okay. I felt being a bachelor, if he could run around the house naked all day, that was just him, didn't have anybody to, speak to, and he wasn't I like to go out and I like to do things. And he was, I think, more of a homebody. He went to work and he came home. There was no hobby to go to. There was no responsibility outside of work where, him, where I was totally different. I went to work, I came home, I grabbed the kids, they went with me to the farm, like there were chores to do, and you know, we came home and it was like dinner and bedtime. So on the weekend,
it sounds like you kept a pattern going still, regardless of divorce.
Right.
That hey, kids, this is what we do, and this is all okay.
Yeah. So I am super thankful how active Kyle is with the kids because, you know, like I said, Dad picked and choose like when he was going to horse shows. Like he didn't come to all of them, but like, you know, when she was doing basketball, like he was really good about like going to basketball games. When Eli was involved in soccer, he was really good about going to soccer games and football games, but it wasn't hotter than Hades out either, you know. Yeah. Horse shows are so hot. But even like the financial end of it, like for the horses, my daughter still is very good with her horse, but you know, we were going to breed shows and you know, she was like top 5 in the nation, and in order to keep those stats, like you have to go to horse shows. But I felt like you know, I was the one that always paid that expense. And I always worked 2 jobs to be able to pay that expense. But like if I were to fall short because like, you know, like we might have like went on vacation and I helped pay for that, or like the kids needed clothes and I bought that.
Sure.
You know, if I was like $200 short, you know, to go to the next horse show, like I would ask, you know, I never asked. And I would ask.
You'd ask the ex, or
I would ask, the husband at the time. You know, like, hey, like, you know, we need to go to this horse show. Like, I'm $200 short. Like, you know, I never ask, but you know, I'm asking. And I felt like there was always, well, if you do this or if you do that.
It just seemed like
it was like he would give it to me if there was something in it for him, and not doing it because it's his daughter's.
It's his daughter,
yeah. But so you know. I think that's part of the reason, like the kids see it. The kids, I think, Emily's not stupid. She's 12. Like, let's just face it. She had seen a lot of what was going on the last 3 years, and she had seen like involvement and, you know, and things like that. And then, so for Kyle to come in and be super involved from like day one, I mean, the only reason he would miss things in the beginning is because, you know, Jeremiah was there.
Sure, yeah. You know,
and I didn't want that.
Too quickly.
Yeah. Well, and not only that, but like even 4 months into it, like we still kept it quiet for a couple more months because I'm like, how is this going to hinder the divorce? Like he's already not agreeing upon things. Mm-hmm. Right. So if he knows that I've started seeing somebody, especially somebody that he knew, you know, how much more is he going to drag this along? And Kyle was getting frustrated, you know, like we were just ready to move on. Like we were ready to be like, you know, do the family things together and people not question it, or happen to run into like one of his family members or like one of his friends and be like, oh, well, what's going on? You know, things like that. Because, you know, like I said, it wasn't out there on social media for everybody.
Well, I remember my first trip with my new, well, not new anymore, but family was a gig / a trip. We tacked down a vacation to it, and it was the younger one said how weird it was, and we were this was checking in the hotel, we're just sitting on the bed chatting. She thought it was very weird, so for the rest of the trip we made sure we were all in separate bedrooms, boys in one, girls in another, and so the living room couch was the place where we would meet when the kids would go to bed. But that's a whole other story. Don't worry about that. Anyway, so you to check in how you did, I think, is very smart. So I always like to do that at the end of these. I always like to how can we help someone watching this who got divorced for whatever circumstance, they want to get back out there. First thing you're going to say is, don't be in a hurry to announce it.
Right. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Don't be in a hurry to announce it. Don't be in a hurry to involve your kids within it. You know, obviously it's very hard, I'm sure, for many people to put their emotions sometimes before, you know, their kids, because like we all have needs. I mean, let's face it. So then leading up to me finally letting it be known to the ex-husband, like, hey, I'm dating, you know, somebody, you know, was like, we were both ready to move on. Like, we were both ready to put it out there, and he's dragging his feet with, you know, just agreeing upon things. So we can be done and over, you know, and I was struggling financially, you know, like it'd been going on like, you know, a year almost that like, you know, it was done. It was over. Like, I'm not getting child support at that point. Like, I'm not getting alimony. He was willingly like putting $100 into my account a week, but $400 like barely gets you groceries anymore,
right.
And if it wasn't for my parents, like I'd probably be living in my horse trailer in a van down by the river, Like it was kind of like one of those situations. Like, I'm very thankful for my parents, and I'm very thankful that they make it easy.
Not only don't mention things, but try to find a support group also.
Yes.
Yeah.
Whether it's parents or friends or what have you.
Yeah.
Because it's traumatic, but
right.
at the same time, I think you did it right by not making a sharp turn and telling the kids, "Hey, look, new guy."
Yeah.
Because they had time to adjust.
Yeah. Yep, they did. So finally, like it was, like I said, like it was my birthday, and I was just like, you know what? Like, I'm done. Like, we just need to get this over with. So finally, like, I sent him a text message, and I was like, I'm filing for divorce. I'm like, I'm going to the lawyer's office, and I'm filing for divorce. I said, you cannot make an agreement with me. Like, this is going nowhere. Like, I want to move on with my life. You can't move on with your life, if we're still attached. Like, how are we supposed to move on? And all within that same message, I was like, oh, and by the way, I've been seeing your friend. Like, I just put it out there because I was done. I was frustrated and I was done. And Kyle's like, how are we supposed to move on? Like, if you're still attached to this, and, and he kind of was like, okay. And it was kind of funny because, I like to joke about things. And I put a lot of things like out on Facebook, like, like funny things, or like, this is what happened today. Haha. Funny, haha. But like, I knew that I had friends that were supportive within my divorce, but I don't know that I necessarily knew like how many friends were actually supportive. But I took a picture, cause my son like gave me $1 for my birthday. He's like, here, Mom, here's $1 for your birthday, and this, cute 6-year-old. So I took a picture of him and I together holding up the $1. And I thought, you know what? I was like, I'm just going to be funny. Like, you see people all the time, like, start GoFundMes or like, hey, it's my birthday. Do you want to buy me a birthday drink? Like, here's my Venmo. Mm-hmm. And I just jokingly put on there, like, the picture of, my son and I holding the $1 bill. And I was like, hey, everybody, like, for my birthday, I'm getting myself a divorce. I'm on my way up to the lawyer's office with money, more money to pay for this divorce. And I was like, if anybody would, want to like to contribute $1, like, here's my Venmo. Like, my phone kept blowing up, and my mom's like, why is your phone like it's going off like every 5 minutes? I'm like, oh, people are Venmoing me, like, how do I pay for my divorce?
That's awesome.
Yes. Yeah. So, like, a lot of people just thought it was humorous. And, some people just sent $1. I mean, some people sent $5. Some people sent $10. Like, one of my friends, she's like, she sent me $25. And in her note, she's like, $1 for a divorce and, $24 for your birthday pizza. Go get pizza tonight or whatever. But, like, and by the end of the day, I mean, I didn't, like, obviously, like, didn't have $1,500 that I was taking up. But, like, there was, like, $115 was sent to me that day.
Oh, that's cute.
So, that was kind of funny. So, it was great knowing that I had like friends out there that knew like the struggles, and even though it's not humorous, but we found the humor behind it. Was super great. But but I kind of found it like ironic because when we sat down in mediation, and like he didn't think that I deserved 50% of what the equity was in the home because I never paid a bill around there. Like the mediator's like, well, why do you think that she doesn't deserve it? And he's like, well, she never paid any bills. And he's like, but she raised your children in this home. And he goes, and by Ohio law, well, then he threw out, well, she started dating one of my friends. She's committing adultery, which is why like we kept it a secret for so long because I was like, he's already stringing along. Like, how much worse is it going to be? Like, if he finds out that I've been dating somebody, especially somebody he knows. But in my thought, like, was, if he decided to date, I would have felt like more comfortable it being somebody that I already knew versus somebody that like he hooked up with on, Facebook or Tinder or, whatever.
Or a bar or whatever.
Yeah, or a bar or whatever, because at least I like knew the person, I know the personality of the person and like know that it's somebody that I would like, like to be around my children. But the ironic part about it is, like, he waited until, like, after the divorce was final. He waited about 3 months. And then my daughter comes to me. She goes, Mom, Dad's on Facebook dating. And I was like, oh, well, how do you feel about that? Because, Mom's since moved on and Dad waited a long time, before he started dating. And actually, back in like September, we had to go to like that parenting thing for the divorce.
Yep.
And like one of the biggest things, is like, oh, you shouldn't start dating anybody until like, you've been divorced for 2 years. And like a little bit of that like made me feel guilty a tiny bit. Cause like I was like literally sitting next to my soon to be ex-husband and, I was already dating and he knew that I was dating and I knew he was pissed about it. But, it's like at that point, it is what it is. Like, yeah, he's your friend. But at the same time, like, you guys haven't been friends since, like, you're after middle school. You didn't hang out with the same same friends.
But before you went public, you kept it quiet. You checked in with the kids. Which everybody else, in my opinion, screw off. The kids are the only ones I really would, me personally would care about.
Yeah. And, at the time that Emily had told me that Dad was on Facebook dating, like, I asked her how she felt about it. She said that she was okay with it because I think that she knew that eventually it was going to happen. But she didn't like the fact that, like, he was openly, like, telling her that he went on a date and it didn't work out. But that's okay because there's other girls on there that I can talk to. And then I started,
a little too much.
Yeah. And then I was getting messages from other neighbors like, hey, what's going on with, Jeremiah and the neighbor? Like, they've been visiting each other's houses quite a bit. Which I was like, I didn't think anything of it. Like, she had already split up with, like, her husband. So she was going through divorce, too. I confided in her, like, with the things that were going on with me and Jeremiah. She confided in me on things that was going on with her and her husband. Like, our children went to school together. They played together. Like, we lived on a dead-end street. Like, they were constantly, like, riding bikes together and scooters and going over, to their house to swim. So I thought, oh, no, it's just, the kids are friends. Like, he's just probably going over there, So there's another parent there while they're swimming or, whatever. Like, and even if, like, she needed her yard mowed, like, I wouldn't put it past him, like, going over and mowing her yard for her. Because, I was never allowed to mow the yard. That was his thing. But I kind of just, like, played it off as, like, And then, like, all of a sudden, like, Emily, like, came to me. She goes, Mom, I think Dad's seeing Taylor. And I was the neighbor. Okay. Yep. And I was like, huh? Like, there have been, like, people messaging me, like, that there's signs, but, I just blew it off as, like, I can't, because there's such an age difference between the two, too. Like, she's like 11 years younger than him, which, I mean, age doesn't matter, but, so, I just kind of played it off. Like, no, he's just probably, her husband, and she's got 3 young kids, and her kids are always, they've been playing together for the last 4 or 5 years. So, I just didn't think twice about it. But then, she's like, and then Eli came to me, and he's like, Ma, he goes, and his disgusted look, he goes, it was so weird the other night. And I was like, well, what was weird? And he goes, well, Taylor was sitting on the couch, and we were all watching a movie with the kids, and Dad laid down and put his head on her lap, and it was just so weird, So here's this, 7-year-old that, like, thinks it's weird, or whatever. But I don't think he's necessarily putting 2 and 2 together.
Why was it different from when you and Kyle were dating, and then this thing here with the ex?
I think it was because, like, I don't know.
I didn't hear any disgust come out of the kids when you
wasn't. There really wasn't with, like, Kyle and I don't know if it was because we didn't show, like, affection, in front of them, like, when things first started, where, I think maybe they probably snuck over there from time to time to each other's houses, but then, things, like, slowly started happening, but they didn't, because, Dad was just on Facebook dating.
Yeah.
And then now all of a sudden Dad's with, like, the neighbor. They didn't, like, sit down and, like, say, like, hey, like, there's been things going on.
It just happened. Didn't check in like you did.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. It just
So that's a good takeaway here also, for sure.
And, and Kyle never stayed the night at the house when the kids were there. I mean, we were 6 months into a relationship before he finally started staying the night when the kids were home.
Okay.
There were weekends when he stayed the night, when the kids were there, because, like, he was going to go to the horse show the next day, or we were going to go to the tractor pull. And, Kyle lives, like, a good, half hour away. And so instead of like him getting up at 5 a.m. to come to get ready and, go, he slept in the horse trailer. Like we have a horse trailer that's like got, a bed and, things like that.
Slept in the
he slept in the horse trailer for many months. He slept in the horse trailer.
The hired help, I'm telling you.
Yes. Yeah. The stable boy slept in the bunkhouse.
Yep. That's good work.
So yeah, I just think that the approach there, and they kind of still like, oh, Dad kissed Taylor the other day and it was so gross, It was just different. Like they played it a little bit different. But I kind of feel like I kind of threw it in his face, that the kids, weren't super comfortable about it. I was like, but I kind of find it funny that it was not okay for me to date your friend, but it's okay for you to date my friend.
And the neighbor.
And the neighbor. Because, Taylor and I, become kind of close, like, over the last, 4 years or whatever. We weren't, like, best friends. We weren't going out to dinner together in the movies and shopping and stuff like that. But, our kids were, and, I can find it in her about my relationship problems. Like, she talked to me about it a little bit. Or the kids would be over there, swimming or whatever, and I would go over there and we'd sit and chat and, whatever. But when she went on vacation, I'd go over and let the dogs out, things like that. And his response to that was, well, she wasn't your childhood best friend. She's only been your friend for the last couple years.
So he's just trying to grasp onto something.
Anything.
Yeah. So he didn't care about it. He's just trying to.
Yeah. And, and I said, here's the thing. I said, I really wish that you would put as much effort into at least acknowledging the fact that Kyle's around, when we're at things for the children. Because, even though I know Taylor, a friend that I considered over the last year, and I still consider her a friend over the last 4 years, I was like, I really wish that, it's okay. I'm okay with you guys being together. She's come to a few horse shows already. And, and we've talked. I've walked over to them sitting and, we have a conversation. Or she comes over to me and we have a conversation.
Let's be a little more sensitive maybe of the kids.
Right. Yeah. It's just, it was just, why can't you just, in front of the kids, you don't have to have a full-blown conversation with Kyle, but at least acknowledge the fact that he's standing there. Mm-hmm. So we just both definitely took things in two separate orders.
And you know what? And I'm certainly glad you explained both of them, because that's going to happen with people out there. And when they're watching this, I hope that they can understand that. Don't be impatient. Take your sweet time, because you know what? The kid's mental health is just as important as yours, and you've shown that right. So. Listen, if you guys have any questions for Katie Joe here, podcast through it at gmail.com. We'll spread the word, of course, get it to you. Maybe we'll follow up later on, and you can give us an update on what's happening there. Any other questions you can think of right now? We've had quite a good story. Good story.
Yes. Lots of good information. I'm good.
Okay.
I just feel like there's a lot of talk in divorce, but I've not really, I kind of actually approached Holly because she had come into work and was like, oh yeah, I'm doing this whole podcast now with my friend, and so I was like, okay. And I just kind of checked it out, and I listened to the first, few and that you guys did. And, it kind of touched base on the divorce and stuff. And I was like, well, what do you think about, having somebody on to touch base about after the divorce and getting back into dating, how you approach, things. So.
Well, I'm not that I'm a kid, but as a kid, I'm glad you did how you did it, because it could certainly be bad. And a lot of things, I look back, after all these years, think maybe we could have, even though we did kind of the same thing, maybe we should have waited. There's all these what if, but hopefully the kids will grow up to be, then when they're in their teens, they're still going to be good and well adjusted and not sitting outside smoking and telling them how much they hate Kyle. And all that.
Right.
But anyway, so we'll check back in with you, of course. And get more story here, and we wish you all the best.
Yes, thanks for coming on.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Once again, podcast through it at gmail.com. Thanks for playing along with us today.
This has been a presentation of the Through It Podcast. Conversations about surviving, healing, and growing. With your hosts, Holly Rogers and Paul Spurl. Questions or comments about one of the episodes, or if you want to be a sponsor of the Through It Podcast, email us anytime. podcastthroughit@gmail.com. Produced and sponsored in part by the Entertainment Network. Enter the network.com. www.thebrandingcoach.com. Thanks very much for listening and being with us while we get through it.